A warm welcome to everyone. Hope you are doing good. On behalf of DigiSaksham family, I welcome you for the webinar on how to be an effective teacher. With the motto Learning for Earning Seems Good, initiated DigiSaksham as a skill development wing. For more details, you can visit our website www.digisaksham.com or can directly contact me myself Sakshi Narayan. Now, without wasting any time, let me introduce our expert of the day, Mrs. Anubha, an educationist, trainer, a career counselor with a rich experience of over 20 years in the field of education and administration. Having worked in various capacities with many schools and colleges, she has in-depth understanding with the principles of teaching and learning. She hails from Delhi and is postgraduate in English from HNB Garhwal University. She has also qualified UGC NET and UGC USET exams. In her last job, she was working as an assistant professor in English with a leading university in Uttarakhand. She has successfully conducted various faculty development programs, workshops, training sessions on varied topics such as leadership skills, time management, team building, confidence building, group discussion, interview skills, communication skills, and personality development. So now I request ma'am to take over this session.
Thank you very much, Sakshi. Thank you very much for your kind words. Hello and welcome to this webinar on how to be an effective teacher. I am Anubha Nagalia, an educationist by profession, mother of two beautiful daughters, and married to a wonderful person. So, before we actually begin, I would love to know a little more about you. So, I would request you all to please type in your names, the place you are joining us from, and your profession in the chat box. So I'm waiting for your answers. Let's see who all have joined us today. So we have people from Ludhiana, Bhopal, Great Chennai. In fact, I went through the list of participants. We have people from all over the country joining us, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for sparing your time and investing your time in this webinar, joining me today. It's wonderful to have you all with me. So that's a really good participation. So I think, guys, we'll stop it at that, and we'll just move on to the session since we have very limited time, and I would like that we make the most of this time. So it's actually very overwhelming for me that you have joined me from all over the country, and not only from our own country, we have attendees who are attending from other parts of the world also. So welcome aboard once again, and let's discuss and learn together on how we can be more effective in our professions, especially our teaching profession. So since most of us are associated with teaching, may I kindly ask you one question? We are talking about how to become an effective teacher. So let us first see that who are these teachers? Who are teachers actually? Okay, who are teachers' strengths? Well, do you think teachers are expected only to teach? Are teachers the professionals who are expected only to teach? Or are teachers also the ones who are expected to inspire, to motivate, to guide, to counsel, to mentor, and of course to learn? What do you say? Teaching is actually one of those professions, what I've seen over the last few years of my experience, that which demands a lot from the person who's acting as a teacher. Not many jobs demand this. An accountant performs a simple job of looking after the accounts. A marketing person's job is restricted to just looking after the marketing or marketing of the products of that organization. But teachers perform multiple roles. They teach, they inspire, they motivate, they guide, they mentor, and I would say last but not the least, they are learners. And let me add, the word when we say the word multiple, just don't go by the multiplicity of the functions. आप देखिए किस टाइप के फंक्शंस हैं, कौन सी क्वालिटीज हैं जो एक टीचर में होनी चाहिए. They are teaching, inspiring, motivation. All these are so similar to the qualities that a parent has. And just as the parents have a strong influence on their students, so or on their children, I would say, so also teachers have a tremendous impact on their students, a very powerful influence on their students they come in contact with. But guess what is the saddest part? The saddest part is teachers often undermine themselves. They are unaware of this power that they possess. The students we teach, my dear friends, they are very, very fragile. They are like clay in our hand. जैसे गीली मट्टी हमें दे दी गई हो, and we are the ones, who shape them, who mold them in collaboration, of course, with the parents. Teachers, we add value to them. But sometimes, while performing our duties in the course of our jobs, what happens is sometimes knowingly or unknowingly, we say a few things that can actually make or break a student forever. So teaching is not only restricted to simply education, sharing our subject knowledge. So the objective of today's webinar is, friends, not really to tell you how to be more effective at teaching in a classroom. That's really not my objective. I assume we all have been in this profession for a long time, and we all understand that the way to make our classes more interesting is maybe to add more activities, to adopt the playway method of teaching, to have a more interactive approach, and that is what will make our classes much better. But you can easily actually find them on Google. Rather, my objective today is to make all of us understand what is the importance of a teacher in a student's life. To remind all of us educators the role that we can play in the life of a student and how it goes a long way. I will be discussing things, that we can do at our personal level to make our teaching and learning for the students more effective. Why did I say the personal level? Actually, because my opinion is, and I think you will agree with me, friends, that the only person you have 100% control over is nobody but you yourself. I do hope you agree with me. Total 100% control. The rest is totally out of our control. Now, let me give you a disclaimer in the very beginning of the session that the finer points that we will be discussing today, they are actually based on my experiences as a teacher, as an educationist, and as a mother. These roles I have been performing, since the last more than 20 years. So I really cannot promise to give you a one size fits all solution to all your problems. But one thing that I can definitely promise is that if you listen to today's webinar with an open mind, I'm sure it will give you a direction, and it will definitely give you an insight to how to be more effective in all that you do. So let me begin by sharing my story of how I entered this teaching profession. This was in the early 1990s when I had just completed my graduation, and at that time I was just a little confused. I have not ever been very ambitious. बहुत ambitious मैं कभी भी नहीं थी. हालांकि आज की तारीख में मैं surprised होती हूँ at the degrees that I have taken and how I have upgraded myself. Back then I was a different person. So I was just wondering what to do. Should I go in for a master's degree, or should I actually do something different and something more exciting, just to as a further to my graduation. And while I was confused and thinking, wondering what to do, I was approached by a neighbor of mine. She's a friend, and she was living just almost next door. And she asked me that she was working with one of the schools, the leading schools of Delhi. She asked me, Anubha, you're free right now. Would you like to join our school as a computer aided learning teacher? She told me what the job required, and I said, well, why not? Actually, the reason for me picking up that job, friends, to be very honest with you, was that the school that she was talking of was just a 5 minutes walk from my house. दिल्ली में 5 मिनट की दूरी पे, वो भी पैदल वाली दूरी पे, अगर आपको एक बढ़िया स्कूल में एक बढ़िया ऑफर मिल रहा है, then I think one should really take it. So that's what I did. I jumped at the offer and I started going to that school for computer, as a teacher for computer aided learning. Now, what we used to do over there was that at that time we used to make the syllabus of the students was made and on softwares, and children used to attempt multiple choice questions in the on with the help of that software. That was what we did in the computer labs with the students, starting from grade 2 till grade 10. And it was just kind of a revision of the syllabus because today's facilities were not present back then, and we had to help the students run that software. We had to help the students, we had to clear their difficulties, and I quite enjoyed doing that. While doing that job, one thing I understood, and that was that I could really connect well with the students. I enjoyed their company and they enjoyed my company. It was almost mutual. And at that time, what I did not know was that this little job, which I had just taken up, just to pass my time and to earn a little pocket money, as you have at the graduation, when you're a fresh graduate, this job would give me a whole new direction to my career, which I would be pursuing in the future. So while doing this job, I decided to enroll for B.Ed, and I took the plunge into teaching. So somehow, I would say by chance, accidentally, I came across my why. I discovered my reason for getting into teaching. But ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask you a question. Do you know your why of teaching? Have you tried ever to think that why are you in this teaching job? Is it because you really love teaching? Or is it because you really like to be around children? Or is it rather because, it offers the so called fringe benefits, or they call it a comfort job, Back that time, though the situation has not really changed too much, teaching was said to be one of the most comfortable and the best jobs, especially for women. Why? Because they used to say, as it offers a unique combination of family life and career. And before you think of anything else, I'd like to tell you that, hello, I don't buy that opinion. I am not of the same opinion. I myself have worked in various capacities in various schools and colleges as a teacher, as a coordinator, headmistress, assistant professor. And what I've understood is that the picture is definitely not as rosy as it looks. Teachers face immense pressure from their management, school management, pressure from regarding the completion of syllabus, pressure to complete their checking work, pressures to organize activities, fill in the various registers, fill in the various records, reports. My God, the list is endless. And not only this, personally, when I was into teaching, I really cannot think of a single day when I came back home without carrying my two big bags of checking work with me. So ideally, I used to be home, as at 2 o'clock. But what happened was that at the session that I used to take post my school or college hours, nobody could see. And perhaps that is why we have this misconception that teaching is a very, very comfortable job. Now, let's talk about the crisis that we are facing in the present time. The COVID 19 crisis, which we all are facing at the present time. We all, as educators, we have been forced to come online. Whether we like it or not, guys, we are taking online classes, and somehow I would say the blessing in disguise is that we have become tech savvy. All of us have learned to be more comfortable with our systems and with these gadgets. But we're working, like, I don't know about the other corporate jobs. They say they're working from home, work as you please. But for the teachers, the schedule is pretty tight. I know the teachers are taking classes at as per they are almost following the same timetable that they were following in school. So what is the difference? And to top it, let me add, maybe you relate to me. I don't know about your organization. The organizations are not even giving the complete salaries to teachers in spite of them working so hard. Do you agree? So what happens? We spoke about that our why of teaching, and we spoke about the joys of teaching. We spoke about how I love teaching. That's why I'm in the teaching profession. But what happens is when we face all these pressures, my friends, what happens is any job any occupation, it starts losing its charm. It starts losing its aura, and teaching also in the process somewhere loses its nobility, right? We start doing it like any other job. We just start going to the office, we start just going to the classes, take one class after the other in a very mechanical kind of a way. And before we realize, friends, we find ourselves in a rut. आपने सुना होगा ना, एक चक्की में घुस जाते हैं, एक चक्की में घुस जाते हैं और उसी में ही कहीं ना कहीं घूमते रह जाते हैं, पता भी नहीं चलता. So, in fact, the other day, let me share with you. I saw this video on a few dialogues typical teachers use. और मैंने तो generally WhatsApp पे आया था. I just looked at it, and it was an eye opener for me. And I realized there were quite a few of those lines I also used, my friend. So the thing is, we become a typical teacher. We become, as people say. So कभी कभी तो हमारी शक्ल देख के लोग बोलते हैं, "Are you into teaching?" Somehow. So friends, but when the monotony sets in, when all these things, become prevalent, what happens is this is where our why comes into the picture. Now, like I told you, I asked you to just think for a moment about your reason for teaching and make yourself understand that is the reason why you're into teaching, is that important to you? And guys, if it is important to you, your why will make you a different person. Your why will make you passionate about your work. You will start enjoying your work. Now, when I say passionate, it's like, let me explain it with the help of an example. Now, a few of you love cooking. A few of you love painting or drawing or sketching or gardening for that matter. Now, what happens is when we love to do a particular activity, we start enjoying it. Now, those of us who love cooking, now we can just be in the kitchen for hours together और हमें गर्मी नहीं लगती. बट जिसको कुकिंग का शौक नहीं है, आप उससे पूछिए, उसके लिए 15 मिनट किचन में रहना भी, स्पेशली इन द हीट outside in the weather these days, it becomes a big problem. So if you find your why, it will just make you start enjoying your work. And once you start enjoying your work, you know what is the next step? You will start innovating, you will start researching of finding ways to do your things better, to do whatever you are doing in a much better fashion. Let's take cooking again, come back to cooking again. If you are fond of cooking, you will try and make new dishes. You will try new dishes, you will try new ways, new combinations. You will look at new ways of garnishing them. And all these things will be done totally by you without anybody having to say anything to you. So also goes with teaching. If you find your why, you start enjoying what you do, you will find yourself finding new methods of making your classes interesting. If one approach doesn't work, you'll go on to the next. And all these things will keep you alive, will keep you enthusiastic about your work, excited about your work. And friends, enthusiasm is contagious. It's super infectious. If you're excited, you pass on that enthusiasm to your students. A happy teacher creates happy learners. I personally, in these over 20 years of teaching, I personally I've never come across a teacher who is dull or who is worried or who's anxious all the time to be motivating her students or inspiring her students to learn. So we got to be excited about our work. We got to just do it with a good level of excitement. Now, the next point that I'd like to discuss with you is your power to choose. You have the greatest power on earth. And guess what that power is? It is your power to choose. Now, you had this power to choose when you chose to enter into the teaching profession. Just think about it. You chose this profession. And now you also have that power to choose when you will choose how to work in that teaching profession. How would you like to do your work? And, it's a very simple thing. Between a stimulus and a response, one has the freedom to choose their response. You yourself can choose how you would perform in this role that you have gotten yourself into. Especially, this is more so, this power becomes more relevant in the trying times. Wise men say a man is what his thoughts are, and it is so true. They say our thoughts becomes our actions, and that is also very, very true. Our thoughts become our actions, and they start manifesting themselves in in our life. What that means is जो हम सोचते रहते हैं वही कहीं ना कहीं हमारी जिंदगी में होना शुरू हो जाता है. Maybe you must have heard of the law of attraction. Well, the law of attraction is not a law that has been made by me. The law of attraction, my dear friend, is a universal law. It's a law of life. We attract in our life what we think. And so, if we are happy today, we are carefree, and we enjoy what you do, it is what we have thought into action. On the other hand, if we are sad, if you find yourself anxious, worried, struggling over something, then guys, maybe just think about it. Maybe you have thought it into action. You know, there was this person who always used to say that, well, he was a wonderful person, a very good personality, very good at public relations, very knowledgeable. But this person always used to keep saying to himself that, well, I can do anything but become rich. And that's what happened to him. He was successful in all areas of life, but somehow he could never earn money. So one day, a person, a friend of his, he pointed out to him that उन्होंने बोला आप ही क्या बोलते रहते हो that I can do everything except make money. So when he said that to him, he said, all right, let me try the other approach. And now he started saying to himself that I can do everything well, including making money. And in a few years, his thoughts they manifested themselves. आपने कभी सोचा आप सोचते हो बस मिस हो जाएगी बस मिस हो जाएगी और बस मिस हो जाती है ऐसे होता है so guys let's be very careful of what we choose to do in a particular situation in the context of this training this power to choose is very very important because here we are trying to learn how we can be effective in our work the whether you would like to be effective or not my friends is quite a matter of our own choice. Now, most of us will agree, you know, like the times that are going on, that we do not really have much control over many situations. Take coronavirus, for instance. I don't think any of us would have ever thought that such a time would be seen by us. हम लोग लॉकडाउन में आ जाएंगे हम लोग अपने घरों में बंद हो जाएंगे I don't think we could have ever imagined that. But one thing that you can control is your thoughts, your how you respond to that particular situation. And when you control your thoughts, uh, friends, you indirectly take charge of the situation also. So, in the field of employment, let me just discuss an example with you. Let's take a school in which there are two types of employees. There is one employee. For the first employee, you know what he tries to do. In the first employee, he chooses to work in a very professional manner. He chooses to take the classes well in time. He chooses to submit the test papers in time. He chooses to go prepared for his class. He chooses to find new approaches to make his work more interesting for his students. And what happens is that such an employee makes himself very valuable, बहुत valuable बना लेता है. And the employer, जो उनका head है, he would like to retain him. अब अगले एक employee पे आते हैं. Now in the same organization there is another employee. Now this second employee he chooses to work when he pleases. आजकल online classes ले रहे हैं हम लोग. कोई प्रिंसिपल सर कोई कोऑर्डिनेटर सर या मैम या प्रिंसिपल मैम nobody is taking the rounds friend we are our own bosses and जब हम लोग ये classes लेते हैं online classes this second employee he chooses that you know what I will do is 11 बजे क्लास है it's all right मैं 10 मिनट लेट ज्वाइन कर लूंगा बच्चों को मैं संभाल लूंगा नो प्रॉब्लम है एंड टेस्ट पेपर आज सबमिट करना है व्हाट्स द बिग हरी कोई बुला थोड़ी ना रहा है ऑफिस में कल कर दूंगा now he chooses to work in a particular fashion. It's his choice. No problem at all. But God forbid, you know, if worse times come, like if you hear the media, friends, it's filled with negative news. They say that so many people have been fired, so many people are losing their jobs. If you listen to all this, let's say your employer is one of those who wants to fire a few people to cut his resources. Well, what do you think to cut his expenses? What do you think? Which employer will he let go of? Employee one or employee two? Definitely the second one. अभी second वाले employee की job चली गई, वो क्या बोलेगा? What he will do is because of his negative approach, because of the mindset that he has, what he will do is that he will simply start complaining. He will have start blaming the government, the school, the authorities. He will blame everybody but himself. But he will never ever blame himself. उसने वो choice करी थी to work in a certain way, and that is what he is facing right now. So, friends, however much I talk about your power to choose, I feel this is a power we all have in our hands. It's like the gold mine, which is, we have, but we never really tend to use it. So, it cannot be enough. But I do hope I've been able to get my point across to you. The second thing that I'd like to discuss with you is ego. Now, ego is a little word, it's just a three-letter word. The dictionary meaning of ego is a person's sense of self esteem or self importance. But do you know what we all do? We make a bigger than ourselves image of ourselves. It's almost like walking around with a big balloon, surrounded by a big balloon. And guess what is filled in that big balloon? In that big balloon, you have nothing but I, me, and myself. That's it. Now imagine, now just imagine that you're walking around with this balloon around you. Now, this imaginary balloon, of course, in the picture you can see I have just taken a picture of that so that, but this is not how we do it. But it's just imagine that, but if you have your ego, if your ego is too high, then this is the balloon you have. It's an imaginary one for you, but the others can sense it. Now, if you walk around with this imaginary balloon, you know what will happen? Imagine, just think, will it be easy for people or your students to approach you? Definitely not. And the same goes for you. It will also not be possible for you to reach out to more people. आप भी लोगों से आसानी से उनके लेवल पे उनसे बात नहीं कर पाएंगे, उनके लेवल पे जाके उनसे घुल मिल नहीं पाएंगे, क्योंकि आपके सबसे पहले दिमाग में ये आपकी ईगो आ जाती है, हमारे सबके दिमाग में हमारी ईगो आ जाती है, व्हाई शुड आई टॉक टू दैट पर्सन. बट होता क्या है, वन लेट मी गो वन स्टेप फर्दर. ये इमेजिनरी मेरी बलून में अगर एक छोटी सी प्रिक आ जाए, what will happen? एक बलून में जब एक प्रिक लगती है, it just bursts, and that's what happens to us. In our imaginary ego balloon, if somebody just says something, we burst, we lash out, we lose our temper, हम नाराज हो जाते हैं. तो एक बच्चा अगर हमारी क्लास में, if he's just smiling, कुछ अच्छा हुआ होगा सुबह, उसको सोच के वो मुस्कुरा रहा है, हमें लगता है he's making fun of me. There is another child, who doesn't do the homework, and we just lash out at those children. Now, what happens, guys, is from my experience, I'm just sharing this with you. When we are given a class, we have a set of a few students. We are given a class. We are also given control over that class. We are given authority, the authority to take decisions on behalf of that class. हम उस क्लास के बेसिस पे इतना इंचार्ज हो जाते हैं, समवेयर हम इतना ज़्यादा जुड़ जाते हैं अपने उस रोल में, इतनी अथॉरिटी के रोल में, उस पावरफुल रोल में, दैट समवेयर अलोंग द लाइन वी मिस द पॉइंट. वो जो रिलेशनशिप है, जो एक फ्रेंड या एम्पैथी की होनी चाहिए बिटवीन अ टीचर एंड अ स्टूडेंट, what happens is, guys, that relationship, it changes to that of a ruler and the subject. Let me share with you an interesting story about Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb. Now, I'm sure you must have heard of the famous Shah Jahan who built the famous Taj Mahal. Now, Aurangzeb was Shah Jahan's son, and he was not the eldest son. वो सबसे बड़े नहीं थे, इसीलिए he could not get a right to the throne. But he wanted to be the king. So you know what he did? What he did was he actually got all his brothers killed, and he got his father. उन्होंने because he wanted to be the king, उन्होंने अपने father को prison में डाल दिया. Now, this father, Shah Jahan, he called Aurangzeb and one day, and he said that, son, if you have to put me in prison, it's all right, I understand. But can you do me a favor? So, like, what? Says, can you actually just give me a few students? If nothing else in prison, if you can give me a few students, at least I can pass my time teaching them or just being with them. So Aurangzeb saw no harm in this, and he said, why not? All right, can be done. And that was done. He gave them a few students. But you know what? Why Shah Jahan had asked for those students? Because he was a ruler all along. He had been used to authority and power. And you know what? एक छोटा सा साम्राज्य मिल गया जब वो बच्चे उसको मिले. उस साम्राज्य में औरंगजेब started enjoying, feeling in authority and in power once again. So I hope, that does not happen with us. Authority on its own, authority will always be given to us educationists whenever we are handling students or handling a class. But authority is really not a bad thing. But what we need to understand is that with authority comes responsibility. And we just have to be more responsible. In a learning environment, guys, sometimes it happens that you do all the work, you make all the things happen, and when somebody else comes, the credit is given to the student. It's perfectly fine. It's all right. Trust me, it can be. This is one of the best learning environments that can be. So, a good teacher, an effective teacher, leaves his or her ego behind and just lets the students shine. Let's read these together, and I think I'll be able to get my point across. These are some quotations by some authorities in education. The first one is by Maria Montessori. She says, the greatest sign of success for a teacher is to be able to say that the children are now working as if I did not exist. So true, guys. Can we make that happen? A good teacher is one who makes himself progressively unnecessary. We have done our job, we are just felicitators. If we have done our job, it's time that we move out of the scene and just let our students shine. Now, the next point that I would like to speak on is no preconceived notions. Well, let me take an example to explain this to you. Now, when we are taking a class, when we are teaching a class, whether in school or in college, what happens is, even while our session is going on, what happens is that we keep sharing notes with our colleagues. It happens. Uh, I can't see many of your chats, but it just happens that we keep sharing notes. We update our colleagues on the classes, on the students that they will find in the classes which they take next. We tell them, you're going to take this class next year, and let me tell you how things are. This in this class you have this A, B, and C. These three are wonderful students. They are hassle-free students, no problems at all. These three students always do their work, always show on time, never a problem to deal with. But E and F, these two, they are troublemakers. And G and H, don't ask about them. These guys, they are always into making mischief. They have no other issue to be there except to create disturbance in the class. And X, be very careful of him, because X is a trouble. X is one who is very argumentative. वो तो हर समय बहस ही करता रहेगा, तो उससे तो दूर ही रहे. अब what happens, unknowingly we have bought the opinion of our colleagues. Unknowingly, when we go to a new class, we go with a preconceived notion. हम पहले ही ओपिनियन बना के जा रहे हैं कि इस पर्टिकुलर क्लास में ये बच्चों के संग मुझे ऐसे 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 डील करना है. और आपको पता है, जब आप ऐसे ओपिनियन बना के जा रहे हैं, तो आप अनजाने में क्या कर रहे हैं. हम लोग अनजाने में पता है क्या करते हैं, हम लोग ऑलरेडी ऑन गार्ड रहते हैं. हमें पता था कि वो एक्स वाई तो बहुत आर्ग्यूमेंटेटिव है, उनसे हम कोई बात ही नहीं करते. हमें पता था कि सी और डी तो ट्रबल मेकर्स हैं, तो हम उनको हर छोटी, वो बेचारा कुछ नहीं भी कर रहे होते हैं, तो भी हम कहीं ना कहीं उनको उनकी जगह, ईगो, वो हम उनकी जगह दिखा देते हैं. हे, यू बेटर टेक कंट्रोल ऑफ योरसेल्फ, डोंट मिसबिहेव विद मी. So this is all we do. हम क्या करते हैं by doing all this, guys? And I'm not saying you do that. I have made so many mistakes as a teacher, and the reason I wanted to have an interaction with you is that I would like, that let's all learn from the mistakes all of us make, so that at least we can learn quicker. So what we do, by if we are take the opinions of our colleagues and we take them into action, what we do, we somewhere reinforce it in the minds of the child that you are no good, or somebody in the mind of another child that you're exceptionally good, you don't need to do anything extra. But a few children, you are no good, you are nonsense, you are useless, it's a pain to have you in class. Let's not do that. These are formative years of a child's self-image, guys. This is the time in schools and colleges where teachers, students come to us. They look up to us as role models. एंड कितनी बार तो पेरेंट्स अपने बच्चे, हम आपने पीटीए में आप लोगों के संग भी ये होता होगा कि अरे मैम आप ही बता दीजिए, हमारी बात तो सुनता नहीं. सो दिस इज द वे चिल्ड्रन लुक अप टू अस. एंड अगर इसके बाद भी हम उनको बार बार यही बोलते रहते हैं कि तुम तो ऐसे हो, वो वाली टीचर भी यही कह रहे थे, वो वाले सर भी यही कह रहे थे, तो फिर हम कहीं ना कहीं उनकी सेल्फ इमेज को shatter कर रहे हैं. We are not really doing a good job at all. So from now on, let's try and start building a positive self-image in our students. Let's try that whenever we consciously try that whenever we enter a new class, बातें होती हैं colleges में, schools में, आपस में, no problem at all. But आप अपनी opinion, अपने experiences से बनाइए. Don't try to just go enter a new class with a clean slate. Just enter with a blank mind. Allow the students to unfold before you. Allow the students to help them to make an impression on you. And trust me, you will be very effective because most of the teachers don't do that. Most of the teachers have these preconceived notions और उसके ऊपर कई बार वो उठना ही नहीं चाहते. They don't even want to listen and they don't even want to try. So the next thing which we unknowingly, unintentionally do is that we should not indulge in comparisons. We should not indulge in branding of students or body shaming, as we call it. Now, you know what? आपके स्कूलों में भी ऐसा होता होगा, colleges में भी, that we have siblings studying in the same school or college. बहुत बार एक ही स्कूल में भाई बहन then two brothers two sisters they study together in the same school and at the same time और क्या होता है that एक ही टीचर को कई बार मौका भी मिलता है दोनों सिबलिंग्स को पढ़ाने का राइट ऐसा अगर होता है तो आप be very honest with yourself if this happens unknowingly what do all of us do we start comparing. But have you ever realized it's funny though? I don't know why we compare, but we do compare. We start comparing. We say that भाई तुम्हारा भाई तो मैथ्स में 100% लाता था और तुम्हें क्या है बेटा तुम तो पास ही नहीं हो पाते 40 नंबर लाना भी तुम्हारे लिए इतना ज्यादा मुश्किल है it's a big thing. हम क्यों कंपेयर करते हैं हम बोलते हैं तुम्हारा भाई तो स्पोर्ट्स में बहुत एक्टिव था तुम्हारी बहन इतनी एक्टिव थी और तुम्हें देखो तुम तो बेटा क्लास में ही घुसे रहते हो why are you doing that why do we do that or in fact let's understand हमारे बहुत सारे घरों में भी ये सब होता है और be honestly friends इस वॉज अ वेरी कंफर्टेबल जब आपको या हम लोगों को हमारे भाई बहनों से कंपेयर किया जाता था घर में पूरे दिन मम्मी या पापा ऐसे अगर बोलते थे कि वो तो इतना अच्छा कर रहा है तुम क्यों नहीं कर पा रहे ये क्यों नहीं कर पा रहे ऐसा क्यों है टू द एक्सटेंट कभी कभी तो यहाँ तक भी हो जाता था कि बॉडीज भी सेम होनी चाहिए क्या भाई बहन की ये भी हो जाता था दैट अरे तुम्हारा you know why is it that you are not doing things together right I hope yeah you can hear me fine so we even go to the extent of comparing their physical features and their weights when it comes to making comparisons we go many steps ahead but when we don't like it for ourselves why do we do it another thing is branding of students most of us do it out of sometimes we start calling our students अरे बुद्धू है यार तुम नहीं कुछ कर सकते बेटा तुम्हारे बस की नहीं है कुछ भी ऐसा करो तुम ये सब कुछ मत करना और तुम तो बस अपने ये पास हो लो किसी तरह बस वही बहुत है तुम्हारे लिए it is not your cup of tea we keep branding students we keep telling them you are no good you are useless you will never be successful in life we do that I'm not saying we don't say positive words but I'm just my objective is to make your to draw your attention to all these things which we sometimes say very casually and we also start saying that calling them names on the basis of how they look we say किसी को प्यार से ये नहीं कि मैं ये नहीं कहना चाह रही कि आपकी intentions खराब होती हैं या हमारी intentions खराब होती हैं a friend of mine वो बहुत उसकी daughter she was a little plus size when she was in school and this friend of mine she told me what her daughter went through अब क्योंकि वो plus size की थी and she was very good at studies उसकी टीचर्स उसे बहुत प्यार करती थी her daughter नाउ अब उसकी टीचर्स उसे प्यार प्यार में मोटू बुलाने लगे कि गोलू कभी मोटू कि गोलू तुम इधर आओ गोलू मेरे गोलू ने होमवर्क कर लिया समथिंग लाइक दैट जस्ट आउट ऑफ लव but what happened was when the teachers started saying this when the teachers started saying this what happened was that the students in the class also got a license to say the same thing the students also started calling her golu motu to the extent ये बच्ची कई बार घर से घर वापस रोते रोते आई कि मेरा अपना नाम नहीं है क्या कि ये लोग मुझे सब लोग ऐसे ही बुलाते हैं मैम भी ऐसे ही बोलती हैं और सर और बच्चे भी मुझे सारे ऐसे ही बोलते हैं guys we don't know what our words are doing knowingly, unknowingly, unintentionally, maybe out of love, out of concern, maybe we are saying things like this. Maybe we are invariably comparing to siblings. Why are we doing that? Let's stop doing that consciously. Let's stop doing that. Let's stop branding our students. Let's stop body shaming. Let's take our students as unique individuals who have the potential and who we respect and love and would like to teach, irrespective of their color, their size, their weight, or whatever attributes they have. Right? Let's go on to the next point, which is taking care of individuality. I would like to share a story with you, or maybe just give you an example. There were two students. One was a tortoise, and the other was a monkey. Now, these two students were given a task by their teacher. The teacher asked them to first climb a tree. So they were supposed to do two tasks that day. The first task was that of climbing a tree. Now, when the first task was given, who do you think would have climbed the tree first out of the two students, the tortoise and the monkey? Of course, the monkey. Of course, the monkey, because the monkey was one who has a natural ability to climb trees. But the tortoise could not have done a great job as good as the monkey. Now let's go to the next task. The next task required both the students to cross a river. Who would you do you think? Who do you think would do that first? Of course, the tortoise guys. So, what I mean to tell you, what is the moral of the story is that every child is unique. And in a class, when we are given a class of 30, 40, 50, 100 students, what happens is we often treat them as one whole big bunch. We just treat them in the same manner. But to be effective in what we do, to reach out to them, we have to be conscious of, we have to take care of their individuality. So we don't really need to do anything extra. I'm not saying that. I know your job is very stressful. I know you have a lot of pressures to meet. But what we can do at our end, while we are in our class, then what you can do is what you can definitely do is that maybe spend a little time with the ones who take a little, who need a little more attention. Spend a little 2 minutes extra with them. Maybe there are a few extra bright students in your class who, if you give them a problem to solve, if you give a class a problem to solve, the whole class takes 10 minutes, but those three would be free in the next 5 minutes. Take another two problems with yourself in the class. Keep them busy, keep them engaged. A child who does not really speak up, he does not like to speak up, he is very reserved. When you're asking questions in class, why don't we ask that particular child by name and ask him to give him an opportunity to come out of his shell? It's just little approaches that you can follow to just make yourself better and reach out to these students. And in the process, of course, be better at all that you do. Because most of us, like I said, these are the finer points which I have, tried to compile from my own experiences. Okay. The next point on the list is positive reinforcement, and I can't seem to say enough about this. Let me take you down memory lane, my friends. And I would like you, in your mind, to think of a teacher who, whenever you think of that particular teacher, you think with a lot of love and respect and admiration. Just think of that one teacher. So now, if you've done that, now tell me the teacher that you thought of when I asked you to do that. The teacher that you thought of, was that a teacher who always said good things to you? Or was that a teacher who always showed that you are a good for nothing fellow? Was that a teacher who was always negative towards you? I'm sure it was the first. It goes with the first choice. A teacher, the teacher you must have remembered right now must have been a teacher who you would have said something good to you, who would have said a few words of encouragement to you. So positive reinforcement, my friends, is all about creating a positive environment of learning. It is showing belief in your students. It is creating standards for yourself as well as your students. Now, it has been a personal experience with me that whenever I was given a class and There were a few students which, like I told you, are preconceived notions. It happens with all of us. And there were a few students who were told, who my colleagues told me about, and they said that, ma'am, this is a hopeless case. I don't think anybody can ever do anything to him. And I tried it, guys. Like I said, when you enjoy what you do, when your why is important, you try different approaches. So what I tried to do was that I tried to speak to these kids, and I tried to tell them that, I think you have the potential. I really don't know what is stopping you. And if you have any problem that you're facing, please feel free to come to me. And guess what, guys? 9 out of 10 cases, I have seen that my students have risen up to my expectations, and they have done that. So the positive reinforcement is basically something that we have to keep doing on and on. Rather than giving up on them easily, let's keep doing it. Let me tell you an interesting fact that I read somewhere. And if you've seen the movie Tare Zameen Par, then it was mentioned in that also. In the Solomon Islands, whenever there is this tribe that stays there and lives there, and whenever they want to bring down a tree, whenever they need timber, whenever they need wood, what they do is they don't just simply cut down the tree. What they do is these all the tribes people, sare log, they make a circle around the tree and they start shouting abuses at the tree. They start saying negative things to the tree, and what happens is, and this process continues for days. What happens is that after they do it for a number of days, what the tree starts dying. This tree starts losing its life, and gradually over a period of time, the tree just dies its own death. So, can you imagine if negative words can do that to plants? By the way, it's a well researched scientific fact. Just Google it. And if plants also are said to have a consciousness. So, here we are talking about plants, and here we are dealing with regular, proper human beings. They come in contact with us. So, if this can be the effect on plants, the negative effect, what can it do to the self image of a child? What can it do to that? Now, just let me share another interesting fact with you. I read it somewhere recently. In the Babemba tribe of South Africa, when a person does something wrong, then what happens is this person, he's the accused person, he's made to stand in the middle of the village, and work stops in that tribe for a few days. What they do is these tribes people now in this Babemba tribe, they gather around that person, they make a circle around that person, and what they do is one by one, they go up to the accused, उसके पास जाते हैं, and they remind him of all the good that he has done. They remind him of his positive qualities, of his strengths. They remind him of how he acted in such a wonderful manner in a particular situation, all the kind deeds he has done so far. They share their own good experiences with that person, with him, and one by one they keep doing that. Again, this process also continues for several days. It goes on for a few days, and after the end of these few days, you know what happens? They have a formal celebration. They have this formal celebration when they symbolically and literally welcome this person, the so-called accused person. He is said to be, absolved of his sins, and they welcome him back into the tribe with great pomp and show. And now life goes on. So this is the power of positive reinforcement, my friend. We just can't do it enough. Like I said, many times we do things casually without even uh, being consciously aware of it. Just say something, and I know in our heart we don't mean it. I know, it's not like that we have something against that child. No, I know we are not like that. But unknowingly, if we can harm or spoil a child's self-image forever, let's really stop doing that. Okay, another thing is your feedback. Now, I'm sure the organizations that you work for, they must be taking a feedback of all their employees. Well, I'm not really talking about that. It is just a suggestion which I've tried in a few classes of mine, and I would like to share that with you. You know, whenever you finish teaching whenever your session ends in a particular college or in a school, whichever classes you are taking, then just try and take a feedback on your own. Now by this feedback, what I mean is, just in the last class that you have with that in the last period that you have with that class, just go to your class and tell them that hey, today let's discuss what I would like you all to write down the good things that you found in my classes. What is it that you enjoyed the most? And what are those topics which you felt that, maybe we could have done better, or maybe you found them boring, or maybe we could have improved them in some way or the other, right? So you can just do that. You can just ask your students to write that on a piece of paper. For little kids, you can do that, and even for your senior students. But hey, let me just give you one word of caution. If you are one of those who can immediately recognize a child's handwriting, like I'm one of those, I can recognize my children's handwriting just after teaching them for a while. So if you're one of those guys, please don't get into it, because I don't want you to have any hard feelings against the students if he has not written something very nice. So what you need to do is, maybe just a suggestion. You can ask them to type it. Everybody's become tech savvy. Ask them to just type it and give you a hard copy of that. Now, once they do that, just it'll be anonymously written. They don't need to write their names. And so, what you do when you do that, what will happen is that collect these feedbacks from your students. And collection is not enough, my friends. You got to reflect on it. You got to read it, and you have to understand that what are the points, what are the areas in which you could have improved. Now, all of us, I'm sure, we are doing things to the best of our ability. But maybe the way we are doing things is not the way our students are understanding. Maybe it is possible that we are not being able to explain ourselves fully. So just reflect on it. When you get the students' response, when you get the students' feedback, it will really be very enlightening for you, because it will help you understand where you can actually improve. And I would say a good teacher is one who constantly strives to improve, and who does not ever let himself or herself fall into that comfort zone, right? So let's go to the next point. Don't just hear. I said, I'm going to say, I want to get across to you. Don't just hear, my friends. Listen. By listening, I mean listen actively. Active listening is what takes place when you listen with your ears, your mind, your eyes, and your imagination. And to put it very simply, when you listen with total concentration. Now, a typical scene in a school or a college, let me put it before you. It happens. It is a very common scene. Now, you're doing your checking work, and a student comes up to you. The student says that, ma'am, I have something really important to talk to you about. What do you do? Most of us, friends, maybe few of us don't, but most of us, we don't even raise our eyelids to look at that child. What we do is we continue doing our checking work, and we say, "Ha, bolo, kya hai?" Do you think we are giving an opportunity to that child to connect with us? Not at all. We are not listening actively. We have become mechanical in our work. Students actually like those teachers who understand them, who understand their mindset, who behave actually like a friend, and who can empathize with them. So this is your chance. When a student comes up to you, he wants to speak to you, he wants to give you an excuse, and as to genuinely why he was unable to do the homework. Please let not our assumptions come into play. Hey, you are always the troublemaker. You never do it as it is. Please don't give me any excuses. Guys, I'm sorry to say, but maybe we don't know what is going on in the life of that particular student. Maybe we are totally unaware of that. So please, let's try and practice active listening to our students. We have to practice empathy, where we have to relate to the child and make sure that the child is able to relate to you. The next one, keep learning. Well, we say that in every profession, that's what's new. Yes, in every profession, they want us to keep learning, and it's so right. Yes, they want us to keep learning. And as teachers, we have all the more reasons to keep learning, because it is we who are passing this training across to the students, from our professions to our professions to the students. So, a great teacher is actually not really one who loves to teach. A great teacher, on the other hand, is one who loves to learn. But, and most of us, I would say that we keep attending webinars, we keep attending seminars, workshops, faculty development programs, and whatnot, to keep ourselves updated with the latest that is going on in our field. But my question here is not that whether you're attending these. My question here is that even though we are doing all this, are our students aware of this? Have our students ever seen us learning in front of them? Has that ever happened? This is what I really want to point to. That they never see us learn. Actually, our colleges or schools, they hire us because we are supposed to be subject experts, and we need to live up to that expectation. We need to tell our students, hey, I know everything, and don't question me on anything. I know everything, and it's possible. But guys, it's perfectly fine if you don't know the answers to all the questions that are asked in a class. Try to be a learner in your class. Now, if your child asks an uncomfortable question or a question that may be related to the subject or the topic that you're teaching, and maybe you're unable to recollect at that moment, हो सकता है उस समय में आपको एकदम से वो strike ना कर रहा हो answer. It's no problem. Just say to that child, "Hey, I really cannot recollect at the moment. Let's do one thing. Let me look this up, and tomorrow's class we will begin with your question first." You will become more relatable to the students because they will feel it's all right. Our teacher, just because he or she is a teacher, it is not necessary that this person needs to know each and everything. They will see you learning. You will appear more human in front of them. They will see you taking interest in them. In fact, the good universities. My daughter, she's studying in one of the leading universities of India, and she's taken up humanities. And in most of the good universities, my friends, they follow a discussion-based approach to teaching. I know the practical problems don't allow that in our schools and colleges too much. In most of the schools and colleges yes, but schools definitely not because the class will turn into a chaos. But nevertheless, I think out of 10 periods, maybe 2 periods, we can dedicate to that, where we can just open the class, open the house to discussion, and we can just discuss things, and where the student comes up with a viewpoint, you appreciate the student's viewpoint also very well. It happens in some of few of my classes. When the student comes up with an answer and I have another answer in mind, I actually am honest and I share with them that, hey, I did not think of this answer, but it's absolutely correct. That's wonderful. So you give them a one up on learning. So please keep learning. The next point is connect. By connect, I mean, build long lasting relationships. Uh, and I know it's not possible because we are dealing with so many classes year after year. We are taking so many classes. We are meeting so many students. But guys, you know what? Nothing like where your students come up to you and say that, "Ma'am, why aren't you teaching us this year also?" If they say that to you, children, friends, it's just a signal that you could make a connect with them. They enjoyed your company. So if a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach them the way they learn. This is by Nacho Estrada. Now, by this, what he means to say is that it's just that you got to make that connect. Sometimes, based on the age group of the students that you're dealing with, you have to come down to their level or rise up to the level of your students and try and make a connect. Find opportunities to connect in a classroom. It's a common practice with me. What I do is in my classroom. Sometimes I notice that there are a few students who just don't who are usually very bubbly, but on a particular day, I don't find them very attentive or maybe lost in their own thoughts. You know what I do? I always after my class, I just try to tell that student. I call him out or her out, and I tell that child that, "Hey, what's the matter? I hope everything is fine at home." It just took 1 minute of my time, and the child I've seen is able to connect with me. So I would just like to share this interesting example of PUBG with you. Whenever I used to take a class, when I was teaching these college students, and whenever I used to go to the class at, last year, I used to find my students, 10 minutes bhi unko milte the, they used to start playing PUBG with each other. So one day, when I walked into the class, I told them that, I am not going to teach you anything, friends. Today, you are going to teach me. So my students were zapped. They were like, "Ma'am, we can't teach you English." I was like, "Hey, I'm not talking of English. I would like you to tell me about PUBG. What is this rage going on? Because in my home, at home, nobody plays PUBG." So I had five volunteers from the class. They came and they told me, they occupied the center stage. I was made to sit as with the students, other students, and they said, "Okay, ma'am, let us explain this to you." And they explained everything to me, how it functions, what it is about, how to get your weapons, and how do they fight, and why is it so interesting. And I did two things that day. I built a connect with my students because uh, they somehow, though I did not, genuinely wanted to know about PUBG. But the fact is that that day, my students understood that she's also interested in a few things that we are interested in. And the second thing is that without they coming to know about it, I made them practice their presentation skills, which was well done. So the fact is, a connect is very, very important. At the end of your session, your students should not say, "Thank God we are not being taught by this particular teacher again." They should rather say, "Ma'am, we would love, or sir, we would love to have you in our next year also as our teacher." So, one of the last few points, take it easy, guys. Don't get overwhelmed. I know there are a lot of pressures. I know there is a lot of work to do. There are a lot of expectations from so many different sectors of the people we are dealing with, but you can do it all. Please take it easy. Take it in your stride. You'll be able to manage. But I'm sure in our lives so far, we are talking to so many people today live in this through this webinar. I'm sure most of you are much much more experienced than me. But and they must have been many times where the situation when you had heard of what task you were supposed to do, you would have felt overwhelmed with it. That how do I do it? But when you started it, you could do it. So just take it easy. If you're happy, if you're calm, if you're composed, your mind will find solutions. However, if you yourself are stressed and anxious about the work that you have to do, then things will not go as planned. So we're almost running out of time. I would just like now all of you, because we have, I think, we have hundreds of participants joining us today. However much I would love to hear from you and, ask you to write your experiences with me. Excuse me. I would like you to think of a moment when your students made you feel wow, your wow moment of being a teacher. When you felt that it was worth it. Thank God I am a teacher. Your students made you feel special. A compliment, it could be a compliment that you received from one of your students. It could be something one of your old students said to you. It could be something encouraging that was told to you by your management. It could be anything. Just think of that wow moment. So we are about to wrap up the session. I would like you to, while we wind up with that feeling that we are in a wonderful profession. And just remember the good times. It is our power to choose that we don't focus on the negative. It is let us choose to be with the positive. So when did your students make you feel wow? And like I said, I am not really. I would, however much I would love to read your comments right now, but due to paucity of time, I would request you to please write to me at anubhanagalia@gmail.com. You can give me or send me your feedbacks. You can send me anything that you have learned, and don't forget to send me the wow moments of that you had of being a teacher. I would love to know them, and in my community, I would really, really love to know them. So let me give you some food for thought towards the end. You know, this is by Carl Jung. He says that one looks back with appreciation to the brilliant teachers, but with gratitude to those who touched our human feelings. The curriculum is so much necessary raw material, but warmth is the vital element for the growing plant and for the soul of the child. My friends, this is exactly what I have been trying to get across to you through this webinar. As I told you, the strategies to make yourself effective can be learned just about anywhere. You can just Google them, how to make your classes interesting. You can just Google them and you will find them. But what we have to understand is that we have to constantly remind ourselves that we play a very, very powerful role in the lives of the students. We have to be conscious of the human feelings that we are dealing with. And your warmth, the warmth you give, the concern you show, the love you show towards your students will go a very long way in building their self images and their careers. Let's look at another one. I think the teaching profession contributes more to the future of a society than any other single profession. This is by John Wooden, and so rightly said. Hey guys, have you ever wondered? In fact, when I found this, that's the time I really got thinking that it's actually the teachers in each and every field who are churning out professionals in one field or the other, year after year. This is what the teachers are doing, and this is what is happening all around us. So a teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops. The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, and the superior teacher demonstrates, and the great teacher inspires. So, my friends, uh, let's be aware and conscious of these things, that we don't know where our influence is ending. Actually, what somebody said to us when I asked you to remember your wow moment or a teacher you remember very fondly, maybe you must have gone down years, maybe when you were in primary school or middle school, but we still remember them. So, this is the power of a teacher. You don't know where your influence, the words we use, knowingly, unknowingly, can have, they, they can actually make or break a child forever. They can crush his self image forever, or they can build his self image forever. And what we need is not so much of people who have a lot of bookish knowledge. We need people who are more empathetic. We need people who are complete individuals, and that is what we are aiming at. So, guys, if basically, as you see, that in the end, what I would just like to say to you is that we're all going through a very, very tough phase of this corona. You know how our this coronavirus has infested our lives. It has made living under lockdown the new in, and I just hope that in this time of crisis, I do hope that all of us who are attending today's webinar, we will realize this gold mine that we have with us. We will exercise this power to choose that we have with us, and choose to make a more positive impact in the lives of our students. I'd like to tell you that every adversity, I'll just quickly wrap it up, every adversity, friends, brings with it a hidden opportunity. So I personally feel that this lockdown has been a blessing in disguise for most of the teachers, because earlier, if you see, we were restricted only to our classrooms, and now the right person with the right approach, with a brighter positive mindset, for us, you know, the world is our stage right now. So while 95% of the population, guys, will have the fear of losing their jobs, 95% of the population will have the fear how their families will run with low income, while 95% of the population will be anxious about their future, about what is going to happen, because they keep listening to all the negative news the media floats. Only 5%, my friends, will choose to look at the brighter side. And I sincerely hope that you are amongst those 5% who choose to look at the brighter side of things. I hope you exercise your power to choose and learn to be more positive in your approach as a teacher. You learn and you consciously make a decision to spread positivity in all the lives of all the students that you come in contact with. So that was all that I had to say. And I'd just like Sakshi to tell me how much time we are into. Do we have more time if we can handle any questions? Guys, Sakshi, do we have time?
Yes, ma'am, we can handle the questions.
Right. So, friends, if there are any questions that you would like me to answer, I do hope there was some learning that could take place today. And
Yeah,
you rightly
Anubha
said,
ma'am.
yeah,
Hi, Anubha ma'am. This is Dr. Day from Symbiosis in North.
yes, sir.
Uh, yeah, ma'am, it was really a wonderful session from yours and very informative with a lot of examples. First of all, I want to congratulate you and to the
Thank you so much.
listeners too. Ma'am, one question, like suppose nowadays students are having a lot of gadgets like mobile phones and all. They are so much busy in class also, right?
You're right, sir.
Like So, in order to even not only small child, even university, colleges, and all, and
Yes,
maximum teachers are also facing the same problem.
yes, sir.
Actually, they are involved much in software gadgets as well as their family problems also.
Yes, sir. I
Right.
agree.
So
Yeah.
how, ma'am, Anubha ma'am, can you please tell me how we can take away their attention? No doubt, I agree that they are. I mean,
Actually,
we need to take care and understand, and we need to listen their problems in
yeah.
order to for the behavioral touch and all. But what else, ma'am? Ma'am, over to you.
So, I don't know if the others were able to. Yeah, I think the others would have been able to listen to you, sir. Your question. So, I personally feel that yes, it's true. We are living in technology, and we face this constant threat from these gadgets right in our classrooms also. But I personally feel that what the way I handle this, I'm just sharing with you that the way I handle this is that if I expect my students not to use their mobile phones, I teach it by example. I don't carry my mobile phones to the class also. And if it is something very urgent, which and maybe some sort of an emergency due to which I have to carry it in one of my classes, I always take the permission of students and I tell them, sorry guys, this is some important call I was expecting. Only because of that I've got it. Otherwise, most of the time, we actually use it. I actually leave my most. I would say 99 out of 100 times. I leave my mobile phone behind. So one, we can teach by personal example. The second thing
That's
is that
true.
you
Excuse
don't
me.
carry. I
Yeah,
have to. So
ma'am.
yeah, yes, sir. If
Yeah,
I could just complete, sir.
please.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I would just like to say that many times, as when you're in a position of a teacher, we tell our students put away your mobile. But I'm just sharing with you, many times when we are taking our classes, the teachers are constantly attending to their phones, especially many times, even during invigilation, even during their classes, they're constantly running out of their classes. So we have to first teach by example. Second, sir, I would say that, like we said, if we are passionate about our work, we could actually innovate new ways to, use technology to our advantage. Uh, I've tried it in a few of my classes and it works wonders. Now, I give them a few sentences or I give them a few difficult words and I tell them, at the college level, I'm talking about school's phone that as it is not allowed. So I give them a few difficult problems. I get into the inquiry based learning and I tell them, so guys, let's I would like you all to take out your mobile phones and they are stunned. They say, ma'am, mobile phones, really, do you want us to do that? And I say, yes, please take out your mobile phones. And I give them a few things to solve. And I say, now look up these meanings. And after that, 10 minutes you have to look up the answers to these problems. And we'll have a presentation after that. Once in a while, you can do that. I think this will be very, very effective. You can
Because
give them.
because true, ma'am, because in this like this I mean generation, this I mean presently the psychology of the students are also very much different. I mean, somewhere or the other they are changing their, I mean, their age from teenage to adult. So a lot of
Yes,
things are changes are there, and we being teacher we need to understand them too, right?
yeah, yeah, yes, sir.
Ma'am, beside that, ma'am, last question what I was having, I asked in between that regarding their behavioral part, they do have a lot of problems in their family also,
Yes,
especially
sir.
the upper class students,
Yes,
isn't
sir.
it?
I
The
agree with
upper,
you.
I mean, the students who are having upper standard of living. So they do have a lot of problems in their parents' problems, family problems, and all. In
Yeah.
that way, how to deal with? Please, ma'am.
So this is where the role of a teacher as a counselor or as a mentor or as a guide comes in. If you notice a child who you feel is going through a tough time, maybe at the personal level, my approach is that I always call that child to my cabin and I try to have a word with that child just alone. Because many times, based on my past experiences, sometimes I feel embarrassed that I judged this particular child for not submitting his homework, but he was going through such a big issue. So here, if you can just spend a few minutes extra and take that time, without being judgmental, without having any preconceived notions, just a few minutes of extra time that you can call that child to yourself, give him some extra time and ask him what the problem really is.
Great, great.
If you are able to connect, sir, I'm sure he will never be able to
Absolutely.
forget you,
I'm
sir, if you're able to
Yes,
connect. So
absolutely, ma'am. I'm telling you, this is the same exercise I follow. What you said
wonderful.
personally, and thank you so much. Over to other audience who are there, so that I will not take much time. Thank you so much. This is a
Good
wonderful
Thank you
evening,
session.
so
ma'am.
much,
Thank you.
sir. It was a pleasure interacting with you.
Good evening, ma'am. This is
Yeah.
Sakshi Vinayak, teaching in Adarsh Public School, New Delhi. As a
Yes.
fresher in this profession, I wanted just a simple question to you from you that
Yeah.
being a teacher of primary classes, how can we
Mm-hmm.
inculcate reading habits in the students?
Um,
Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, that's a wonderful question because being an English teacher, I feel reading is what makes your English strong. And if it is only about the reading habits, then I'm sure your school would definitely be having a library as well. So, do you have
Yes,
in our
ma'am. It's there. Yes, ma'am. It's
back in
there.
our time, we used to have a library period once a week, and where we used to all go line up and go to the library and spend time. We were supposed to just do reading in that particular period. So, is there such a provision in your class, in your school, Sakshi?
Yes, ma'am, it's there. But in today's scenario, what we feel like is that students are really don't find good in reading. They don't show interest. Basically, I want how I can develop interest in them.
All right. So one guess is like I told you that if you have the facilities, take them to that library. Forced reading also sometimes something like I told you how I found my journey, how I began my journey into teaching. So sometimes that forced atmosphere will maybe develop in them the love for reading. Another thing is that what I do with my classes sometimes is that I read a section, something from the net I pick up and I take a printout of that and I read the beginning of that story to them, right? And then what I tell them to do is, and then they say, then ma'am, tell us what happened next. In the primary classes, you can really use that and tell us that what happened next. Now, what I do is I always tell them that fine. Now, I have told you half the story. It's your job. You go to this link, read it, and then come back to me. These days, even if we talk of class 1, 2, class 4 or 5 students, thanks to the lockdown, Sakshi, everybody is tech savvy. So if you give them half the story, create an interest in them, create a curiosity in them, they will do the needful. And then gradually, over a period of time, I hope you understand it will not happen overnight, but over a period of time, you can actually develop the love of
Really a
reading.
wonderful way, ma'am.
Yeah,
Really a wonderful way.
and I think as per the level of the students, take books that can be of interest to them, show them the books physically, and tell them, this is the book, and let me tell you what is in the story. Just tell them half the story, leave it there. Maybe these days the parents are also conscious. If you tell the parents of the children that we need to buy these few books for our for these kids, I'm sure they'll be helpful, right? So
Sure,
anything else?
ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sakshi. I hope I was
Your
able
session
to.
was really informative and really useful. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Sakshi. Thank you so much. So
Excuse me, ma'am.
yes,
Professor Kumar Ratnesh has a question.
yeah.
He's asking that do you think that teaching style of a teacher totally
Mhm.
depends on the standard of a student?
Teaching style of a teacher depends on the standard of the student. Actually, when as soon as we say the word standard of the student, I'd like to refer to one of my slides which I used in this webinar that we are somewhere branding them, don't you think? Why do we say the standard of a student? A student, if we start on a fresh slate, if we start on a clean slate, who are we to judge that this student is at this particular level? See, everybody cannot, academically, I know everybody cannot be the same. But at the human level, when we are dealing with human beings, the whole session was just simply about how to take care of their feelings as human beings. So I personally feel that if we think that a class is not well behaved, then our approach will always have a certain kind of prejudice in it, because we will always have it in our mind that this particular class, oh my God, nothing can work with them. And that is why our teaching style will, reflect accordingly. I think if we talk of now the positive reinforcement, now you tell this particular class, if you find this, like if I have not understood you correctly, maybe, but if you feel that the standard, the children are not really able to grasp you in what you say or do, maybe we need to change our teaching style, definitely. Maybe you have to come down to a simpler level. Also, try positive reinforcement. If it is a class of troublemakers, in our words, in the words of teachers, then tell them you have faith in them. And they will be, trust me, I've seen it, they will be one of the best classes ever. The way they handle responsibilities, when we show that we have faith in them, it will go a long way. So, any other questions? Or should we wrap up? Because I would not like to bore
Uh,
any of you. Uh, it's
Ma'am, there are so many questions for you.
Actually, how if I think it must have been an hour plus. Uh,
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, right. So I think, friends, let's wrap up this session. And any questions that you have, like I told you, you can feel free to write to me at anubhanagalia@gmail.com. And I request Sakshi, the coordinator of this webinar, to also, maybe make a list of the questions, things that I can handle. I'd like to answer all your queries, guys. And I will keep in touch with you. Maybe we'll send across a document to you or whatever I can handle personally. I would like to do that. And I would like to thank you once again, all of you. We had so many participants attending today. And I would like to thank all of you that you took time out from your busy schedules and you took interest in this topic of how to be an effective teacher. I sincerely hope I have been able to, uh, share my experiences in a positive manner with you. Do write to me. Thank you for being there with me today. Thank you so much for all your concern. And stay safe in this lockdown and be amongst those 5% who look at the brighter picture. And thank you, Sakshi. Thank you, DigiSaksham, for giving me an opportunity to connect with so many uh, educationists worldwide. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much.